Hello there, guys. It's Friday. It's the afternoon, which means one thing. It's time for another episode of VGC Off The Record, chatting about all the big news from across the games industry. I'm your host, Steven McInerney. I'm joined by two of VGC's most important regulars, of course. I've got the title hack himself, Chris Scullion, alongside me. How are you doing today, man? You okay?
I'm doing good. I'm slightly annoyed I didn't get the Nintendo t-shirt memo, which is why we're both wearing Nintendo ones and I'm wearing a Dreamcast one, but other than that, I can't complain.
I didn't get the Dreamcast shirt memo.
Yeah, likewise.
Well,
I didn't get the curtain memo either. I've actually got like a bit... This mic's really conveniently placed because I had my lunch just before we came on here, and I spilled a bit of yogurt on my top, and it's just the stain's just covered perfectly, and I thought I can't be bothered changing. But Dodo Airlines have got me good there. Yeah, we'll let you know next week what we're all planning to wear.
Thanks,
we'll
that'd be good.
schedule it.
That'd be useful.
Yeah, it wouldn't be indeed. And of course, we've got the editor-in-chief of VGC, Mr. Andy Robertson, who's been enjoying the pubs recently. I've been watching you on Twitter. Not watching you on Twitter, that sounds really weird. I've noticed your audio seems to have gone there.
Oh, sorry.
I think. There we go.
I found one pub that kind of has a first come, first serve policy on England games, which is super useful and actually makes business sense for them, right? Because I saw lots of kind of public houses complaining that people are booking tables for houses. 6 people and then half filling them, which is understandable. So yeah, it was really good. I found a pub that could have the football in, and it also served shots.
So if it's first come,
yes.
If it's first come, first serve, you go in there right after this, like Turok 2 to camp outside.
That's a reference to last week's podcast, which of course you have to listen to. We don't talk about football anymore around Chris either because, it's...
Well, I mean, I'm part Italian, so I've kind of fell back onto Italy now.
You're part Italian?
Yeah, my mum's side's from Sicily, so yeah, that's how you explain my dashing good looks.
What a heritage, man! Where else in Scotland are you from as well? Where else in Scotland are you from? I don't actually know.
Just outside Glasgow, small town called Coatbridge. So yeah, Glasgow is Coatbridge by way of Sicily. Yeah, can't complain.
I don't think there's not many people. Do you ever feel like there's something like it's very much unique to yourself that you're quite proud of? There's not many people who probably have shared that same path in this world. At least that's something that you can claim. But you guys all right? Anybody been playing anything exciting this week or anything like that? Either of you?
I've been playing Xbox Cloud streaming. Have either of you tried that yet?
No,
briefly. I was quite impressed.
Yeah, I saw your Twitter.
It's really it's like magic. I mean, I've used cloud stuff before, going back as far as OnLive, if anyone remembers that from 10 years ago, when it really was magic. And it did work. It did work back then as well. Like OnLive was super impressive, but not many people had decent internet, I guess. But the really impressive thing about it is not the fact that you're streaming games over the cloud. That's been done, as I've established. It's the fact that coupled with Game Pass, it's turned your game console into Netflix. You can stroll through your Game Pass library and go, oh, play that, and you're playing it instantly, basically, right? So it absolutely has transformed the way I think about Game Pass, actually. That it's like, oh, fuck it, I'll just try this game, and you can do it straight away on cloud. Yeah. It's not all there. It's not all there. I've got a 1 gig internet line here, which is super fast for the UK, and there's still like lag.
Anywhere really?
Yeah, there's still lag. So it's not all there, but it's in beta. It's to be expected. But
there's some
won me over, mate.
Some genres still work better than others as well. I've noticed like racing games are still a long way away from being ideal for streaming, because anything that goes fast gets compressed really heavily and looks pretty crap. But for stuff like RPGs and like slower games, it's fantastic. And now that they're also kind of upgrading their servers to run off Series X hardware instead of Xbox One hardware, you're going to get the fast loading along with the kind of almost instant startup. So yeah, it's quite exciting. I mean, for me, nothing will still beat playing stuff that's locally installed, but it's getting really close to being, like Andy says, it's something you just want to have a quick shot at it to see if you fancy it. Doing that, and then if I really get into it, then I'll maybe download it and play it properly. No. But yeah, it's great. It's fantastic.
We'll all be doing that. 10 years from now, we'll all be sat doing that one. Let's be honest, it's going that way. Well, as soon as the internet catches up, I guess, and the way of doing it. But it's all exciting. Myself, I've kind of run out of things to play, so I ordered this. It's literally just turned up. Thank you, Mr. Postman. Hitman 3. I'm going to give that a go. I know it reviewed pretty well, so I'll give that a go this weekend. But anyway, This is VGC, where we go off the record to review the most considered, most informative takes on all the big stories from the world of video games. And if you're a fan of this and you like looking at our faces, you can catch us here on Friday afternoon over on our YouTube channel. And if that's not your thing, you want to listen on the go as you're doing your dishes, which is that's how I listen to podcasts personally when I'm sat there doing the dishes. I like it. I don't sit there obviously doing the dishes. That makes no sense. Or you go to work, whatever. Yeah, I just sat there in a high wheelchair. I need to invest. That'd be great, actually. But yeah, you can listen to us when you go to work or whatever, or doing your dishes on your big tie chair or whatever, over on all the major podcast providers as well. So you got no excuse whatsoever to miss a single episode of VGC Off The Record. And we've got plenty to talk about today. PlayStation's been busy going around studios like it's some kind of on sale kind of buy spree, basically. We're going to talk about that, and also the Medium Dev has partnered with Konami, and Dead Space 4 is coming. A Ghost of Tsushima director's cut has been announced, and a co-founder of Rockstar has a new studio. But we're going to start initially with PlayStation being busy this week. And if you've missed it, some news intentional, some news accidental. Now, it started, of course, at the front of this week, where PlayStation announced that it acquired the Returnal developer Housemarque, obviously a long-standing PlayStation collaborator. But more than that as well, they accidentally, I think it was the Japanese Twitter account, accidentally posted a wrong image welcoming Bluepoint Games to the PlayStation family as well. And then further on, officially this time, PlayStation announced that they'd acquired the PC port developer Nix Software, which makes sense given all the games coming to PC at the moment. But I'll start with the Housemarque one. This is from Red over at VideoGamesChronicle.com. Sony's announced that it's acquired Housemarque as the latest addition to its PlayStation Studios group. In a new post on the official PlayStation blog, PlayStation Studios head Herman Hulst revealed that the Returnal developer was now part of the Sony family. Hulst said, "I've been a fan of Housemarque since the studio's early days when they introduced Super Stardust HD to PlayStation fans. Housemarque's recent release of Returnal proves the studio is one with incredible vision, capable of creating memorable new games that resonate with our community. This edition enhances the creative force of PlayStation Studios, and I cannot wait to see what the future holds for Housemarque." Now, onto Bluepoint. They obviously haven't announced that yet, but this came from PlayStation's official chat. It was the same graphic and all that kind of stuff, but they had Bluepoint there instead. Basically, it's been a busy old week in Sony's world. Andy, do you think this is a reaction? This is my initial question. A reaction to Phil Spencer being busy over Xbox and all those purchases and all this kind of stuff, or is it something that's been in the pipeline for a while? Maybe it was just necessary for PlayStation.
Well, they've certainly said it's been in the pipeline for a while. I believe that they said that this conversation started at the start of last year, but they've obviously held it off to concentrate on finishing Returnal and to get the game out. I mean, it's not the biggest. To say it's not the biggest surprise in the world is really understating it. I don't think they've released more than a handful of non-PlayStation games in their 20+ years existence. So, they're an absolute no-brainer for a PlayStation studio. They're practically already a PlayStation studio. The big test for them would obviously been seeing if they can step up from the 2D action games they're known for and do a slightly bigger kind of blockbuster production, which they appear to have achieved with Returnal. It's gone down really well. So this is just the next step, right? I mean, get them under the umbrella and kind of build on that, because they would have had to have worked with all of the other kind of PlayStation internal developers, XDev, etc. These kind of internal support studios in order to get Returnal made, because they're just not that big. They're about 80 guys. Which in terms of, AAA is a small studio. Yeah. So, it's a relationship that makes sense, right? I mean, they need PlayStation to continue making those, and PlayStation get another studio in a location where I don't think they have any studios. They're Finnish, right? I think.
No, they do pretty well, actually. But I'm sorry. I am sorry. I'll just go.
It's terrible.
I couldn't resist. No, but you're right. This feels. I mean, it feels like good news for Housemarque, because I remember a few years back when they did like a very open blog saying how that they were struggling with sales a little bit. About all these kind of games that people want, but they had all the critical acclaim, but they weren't actually getting the sales and stuff. And it feels like there's an element of like, obviously Sony really, really trust them, but they went this direction because it felt necessary for them financially, as a business. And but could this push them up potentially, Chris, into that bracket with the support that you get, obviously, with from Sony financially and so on? Could this push them up into that bracket where we've seen the likes of Guerrilla kind of get there as well? And you've got the big Sony ones like Insomniac and so on. Some actually Sony or not? No, they are, aren't they? Yeah. Could they take that leap to the AAA studio under the tutelage of obviously the extra money and all that kind of stuff for Sony?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, obviously now that they've got the security of having Sony, of being part of the Sony family, they could potentially be a bit more risky with what they make. Because I say that, but you saw what Sony have been doing with the Japan studios just now. It seems that they're not massively keen on the idea of experimental stuff. So it looks like potentially, from what they've been saying, it sounds like Housemarque's next game is going to be a big another big game. They're not going to go back to making the 2D action ones anytime soon, I don't think. So if anything, having Sony becoming part of Sony will kind of give them the security they need to make another kind of big budget title instead of having to fall back and do some smaller games to build some revenue. That's how I see it, at least.
Yeah. Do you think it's probably the same as well for when the inevitably officially announced Bluepoint? Is it a case of they're like, well, you got to carry on doing what you've been doing? Because they've obviously they've specialised in remakes and remasters, including games such as God of War Collection, Metal Gear Solid HD, Nathan Drake Collection, and of course, they had a lot of critical success with the remake of Demon's Souls as well. Is it a case? I guess also looking at the Nixxes software that they've acquired, who specialise in PC ports, are those two basically being locked down because of what they do, and it works so well? And we've seen obviously an increasing amount of first-party PlayStation titles come into to PC as well. Is it a case of with those two studios, it's just lock them down so they carry on doing what they're doing, remasters for one company and ports for another? Do you think that's probably as simple as that, Andy?
Well, I don't think so. No, I think it's just again, it's just more circumstantial. I imagine. I mean, in the case of Nixxes, which we're all assuming is the right way to pronounce it, they are. I believe they're a Dutch studio. I mean, obviously, the head of PlayStation Studios is Herman Hulst, who was the head of Guerrilla Games, probably the biggest Dutch studio. And they've worked together before. I think Nix has helped complete Killzone, the last Killzone, Shadowfall, I think it's called, the PS4 launch game. So it's a studio that the boss of PlayStation Studios clearly knows very well. And they're useful to have in the pipeline, right? Especially when over the last year, obviously, everything's been shaken up by the pandemic, remote working, et cetera. So it's handy to have these studios back in. So I'd actually say it's not necessarily indicative of, any sort of strategy. I would imagine it's a good fit, right? I imagine they've probably worked on something recently for PlayStation, and it's kind of pushed them over the line in terms of persuading Sony to open their wallet. But on the PC side, I mean, obviously they've recently said that they're kind of like they're kind of, I don't want to say doubling down. That's not the phrasing they've used, but they're investing more in PC ports. I mean, they have a very different strategy to Xbox, which Phil Spencer's actually criticised slightly recently about how they essentially, I mean, he's accused them of charging consumers twice for the same game and coming later. But that is what they're doing. I mean, PlayStation is first for them. The stuff that they bring to PC is, usually years later, as we've seen with Horizon, Days Gone, and Uncharted 4, which they're now working on. I mean, it'd be interesting to see how that evolves over the next year, because certainly, I mean, the PC audience is a magnitude bigger than PlayStation, right? I mean, it doesn't take much imagination to see them having big success putting their games on PC. So I'll be interested to see how quickly, if at all, their thought process on that platform changes when they see the money roll in.
On a side note, speaking of Phil Spencer talking about buying games twice, I noticed that this week some of the best-selling games on Steam are like Sea of Thieves was top, Forza Horizon 4 was like near the top 3 or something like that. It's weird that on PC, when you've got Game Pass on PC, people are still would rather buy them full price on Steam instead. which I thought was quite interesting to see. So despite Spencer kind of calling out Sony for charging twice for their games, so it seems that some people are more than happy to pay full price for Steam versions of Xbox games rather than just kind of going through the Xbox infrastructure and buying them that way. I thought it was quite odd. That's just an aside. I thought I'd throw in for a bit of colour.
No, I have no idea why that is a thing. I mean, you'd think so, wouldn't you? But I guess not everyone wants to jump into the Game Pass ecosystem, and that's their choice, I guess, at the end of the day. The second story today, over on VideoGamesChronicle.com, of course, is Konami and Bloober team have signed a new strategic cooperation agreement that will see the companies create games together. The new partnership between the Silent Hill publisher and the Medium developer will include jointly developing selected content and exchanging know-how, according to a statement released by Bloober team. In a separate press release, Konami said he was excited to work with Bloober team and other highly regarded development partners to produce games from existing and new IPs. According to people with knowledge of Bloober's plans, one of the projects it's working on is Silent Hill related. However, VGC understands that Konami has already outsourced at least one other Silent Hill project to a prominent developer in Japan, and could even be more developers working on their own projects. Andy, going to start with you this one. But particularly that last paragraph there about them outsourcing at least one other Silent Hill project. I mean, what is this that... is this written by Chris, actually? I apologise. But what is it... So what do you think this means, basically, for Silent Hills in the future? Do you think that potentially we could see something soon, potentially, with this? Or I can't hear you. You've muted.
I've beat my series record, haven't I? In one episode. I wouldn't. I don't want to put timescales on anything because it's a bit of a mugs game, to be honest. Especially during the pandemic when stuff changes.
Yeah,
we've all seen what happens on the internet when you say something's going to happen in X timescale and it doesn't. I mean, the bottom line is right. I've spoken to a few people who would understand what's happening at Konami. And the bottom line is, obviously they've spent the last couple of years, working internally on stuff like Metal Gear Survive, and there was a Contra game that was received really badly, wasn't there?
Yeah.
As a Japanese company, like most Japanese companies are quite conservative, they've always been very hesitant to outsource their IP. I mean, even something like, Castlevania Lords of Shadows would have producers on the Konami side, and it'd be a lot of hand-holding happening there. Whereas I think the recent kind of bombs have persuaded them to loosen the strings slightly, so to speak. So, I mean, definitely they've been flogging Silent Hill around for a little while now. I mean, this has been widely talked about by a lot of people now, but it is the truth that, I mean, one of them was Supermassive. I was told that Supermassive was pitching a Silent Hill game, and that eventually turned into one of the what's their episodic series called again? Someone remind me.
You're
about
thingy, Man of Media is one. Yeah,
Man of Media, and obviously,
the Dark Pictures anthology.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
So one of those was originally a Silent Hill pitch. That's how it started. So there's that. I mean, and obviously, I mean, I reported previously that I understand there's a prominent Japanese developer working on a Silent Hill project at the moment. And now you've got this, where Bloober team of the Medium and Blair Witch fame, clearly massive Silent Hill fans. They've been trying to ape it for years in the type of game they've been making. They had the composer of Silent Hill working on the Medium. Again, Medium very clearly inspired by Silent Hill. So it seems that they're working on a game as well. So the picture seems to be with Silent Hill that they don't really know which direction they should go in, and it looks a little bit like chucking stuff at the wall to see what sticks, right? Because certainly it seems like the understanding I have is that there's a multiple developers working on Silent Hill at the moment. So, see how that goes. I mean, the suggestion that I heard, and this is third-hand information, so I would not class this as accurate as the other stuff that I've published. But I did hear that they were, attempting to try a couple of different things with it. Like there might be like a Telltale style, I guess almost like a Until Dawn Dark Pictures anthology type, story-led linear game, right? I don't know how you want to describe that, adventure. And then they, on top of that, they try like a more traditional game akin to the older ones. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, Konami are. I mean, you can see it in front of your own eyes that they are flickering to life again. There was a statement alongside this statement with Bloober team. It said that they were looking forward to working with new and existing IP. I will even said it. It says. Says we are excited to work with Bloober team and other highly regarded development partners to produce games from existing new IP. So they're essentially confirming my previous report there. I mean, there are developers working on Metal Gear right now. If I was a Metal Gear fan, I would be actively expecting a Metal Gear collection of remasters type release to not be too far in the future. They've got Castlevania out there as well. And I'm told anything new is going to be in terms of those two franchises is going to be years out. But Konami are flickering to life, and there's also going to be new stuff with PES this year. I hear where they're going to go properly free to play, and really change it up this year. I mean, you're starting to see. Stuff with their kind of their tech demo that they put onto PlayStation 5. And
that was definitely a tech demo for what it's worth. I tried that. That was ropey. That was ropey.
I've got no idea why they did that. I mean, I know it was a network test, and they were more testing that than anything. But and I know they came out with all the kind of qualifiers by saying, "Look, this is an older version of the game. Don't worry about." But my God, it was ropey as shit. And it's like, and when you consider it should only be a few months away. Why are they giving us that version to play? Because all that's going to do is make people think that's what it's going to be like. Did it look awful for you,
by the way? Because mine was like the grass was fuzzy. Like it was really, it was granular. It was terrible. Like it was glitching all over the place. It was like it was a mess. I'm not just.
It was rough looking, and I appreciate that may have been a build from a long time ago.
Yeah, of course,
But people, your normal player doesn't appreciate the minutiae and stuff like this, and they'll just look at it and say, "Well, that looks shit." And
is that what called a new football game, maybe?
Yeah, new football game instead of PES.
Catchy title.
But going back to the Silent Hill thing, I was surprised. Well, not really massively surprised, but I was disappointed to see the reaction online with the Bloober team stuff. A lot of people saying, "Oh, well, that's shit. That's disappointing." It's like I'm pretty up on Bloober team, to be honest. Like Layers of Fear wasn't that good, but they did Observer, which was a fantastic game. Blair Witch was okay, and I liked the medium. I know I've tried.
You reviewed it, didn't you?
Yeah, I've tried to make it a running joke on this podcast by mentioning it every now and then. But it's actually I quite enjoyed it. I appreciated. I gave it like a 3 because it's not for everyone. It's going to be an acquired taste. But when I was playing it, I was thinking of Silent Hill Shattered Memories, which is my favourite game in the series, which only came out on Wii and like PS2 and PSP or something, so nobody bought it. But it was massively atmospheric, and the story was great, and there was no combat in it whatsoever, and the medium's the same. There's no combat in that at all. And I thought if Bloober team were ever to be given the keys to Silent Hill and be allowed to make something in the Shattered Memories style, or even a remake of Shattered Memories, that would be fantastic, because it doesn't appear that they're great at doing combat, but they can nail mood, and they can nail like creepiness and tension, and if they can do something like that with Silent Hill, I'm all for it, because so I think people might be surprised by what they can come up with.
And it looks like the new studio, the new Japanese studio Boca, by some of the old Silent Hill leads, is also clearly working on a Silent Hill-esque game. So, I mean, if you're a Silent Hill fan, it looks like you're going to have, 50 different bloody projects to kind of look at and see if they scratch your itch.
And of course, it's the new Kojima game, Abandoned. No, I'm joking, it's not. But have they released that demo thing yet? They were going to release, which caused the internet to go wild.
I think that guy's.
No, honestly, we're really not.
Yeah, that guy secretly counting his blessings that Bloober team have come out, because up to that point he was, every video of him that was come up, he was looking more and more distressed, because he was like, seriously, I
swear, mate, I swear down.
And then Bloober team came out. All the crowd were going towards him like that, and then Bloober team came out and he went, oh, and they all went towards Bloober team instead. He was like, fuck.
I have very little sympathy, because they have egged people on. They can say they have. Of course they have. They know what they're doing. I'm sure they're not bad people or anything like that, but like, they're playing the game, and you play the game's going to play you back, is what I will say, and they should know a thing or two about playing games in the industry that they're in. But I hope abandoning's good anyway. I hope it's good. Thanks. I hope it's good because I want it to be good for them. But that's a fun story, and that's something else. Imagine actually after all this, it actually is a double bluff, a double, triple, quadruple bluff, and it's a prequel to Silent Hill, or whatever, I don't know. Either way, next in terms of old games coming back, we've got Dead Space allegedly returning. Electronic Arts' unannounced Dead Space game is reportedly a fully fledged remake inspired by Capcom's recent Resident Evil games. That's according to a new report on GamesBeat, which corroborates Gametsu's earlier claim that the new sci-fi horror installment is in development at EA's Motive Studio. The new report claims that for its Dead Space reboot, Motive is taking notes from Capcom's recent Resident Evil remakes. The publication claimed, like Resident Evil's 2 remake, expect the next Dead Space to use the original game as a strong foundation, but it should also have modern visuals, and it will likely bring in new gameplay mechanics inspired by other entries in the franchise. And speaking of Capcom, it's likely a major reason a new Dead Space is happening. While EA has let its horror franchise wither, the Resident Evil series is larger than ever, and Capcom has provided an easy blueprint for EA to follow. Firstly, are you excited by this, Chris? Are you a Dead Space fan? Do you want to see these games brought back to the modern era?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's been a long time since I played them, but when they first came out, I absolutely destroyed them and absolutely loved everything about them. I remember playing the third game actually at CVG when I was there with Timur, because that came out in co-op mode, and so we kind of played through that in co-op, and we were just like, it's okay, but they properly shifted the focus from survival to action and put loads of like human enemies in it and stuff like that, and you're like, this isn't Dead Space. It's fine, but it's not Dead Space. So I'm hoping if all these kind of stories about a new one turn out to be true, that that it does go back to that kind of survival route, because the whole idea of being on that ship on your own, like completely isolated from anyone, and kind of all these grotesque aliens, mutant things in there was like massively terrifying. And then by the time you got to the third one, you were running through big open expanses and stuff. It was just like, this isn't the same.
Still the best HUD I've seen in the game, by the way. I absolutely loved that. I absolutely loved it. It's really stuck in my memory. I remember playing it. I never had it, but I played it at a mate's house, and just I thought it was, I don't know why, it really blew my mind. I thought it was genius. The whole health on the back thing and all that kind of stuff.
And the big screen in front of his face.
Yeah, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And like, there was
I remember
when
I went to see a preview event at the first Dead Space when press kind of first saw the game, and I remember the big thing was that if you pause the game, it didn't actually pause the game. Like, what? You can't pause. You can't pause the game. Like, the press were going mad. You can't pause the game. What if the pizza man comes? I can't pause the game.
I remember the trailer for it being one of the most terrifying trailers I'd seen for a game. Is that like a wee girl singing like a lullaby kind of thing, and then it was cutting in with like monsters? I need to go and find that again. But I remember seeing the trailer first and going, Jesus, this is...
I miss old PlayStation adverts. Do you remember old weird PlayStation adverts with the alien girl and stuff like that? They were freaky.
The baby, the floating PlayStation.
Yeah. Bring all that weirdness back. And to be honest, I do think Resident Evil's huge, so it's always been a global phenomenon, and even away from games, the films have done really well as well. But I do think obviously that template, developers will look at that and see, well, we could do this with Dead Space, we could do it with other ones, and obviously we've seen they've made Mass Effect again recently, which is obviously not a million miles away from that. And to be honest, I'm happy for Dead Space fans. I've only ever played bits of the first one. I know the third one was a bit of a letdown from what I can recall. As you said, it's a bit more action based. It lost a lot of the mood, didn't it? Allegedly. Never played much of the second one, but it's good. You want to see these IPs coming back because they mean an awful lot to an awful lot of people, like yourself, Chris, for example. And I think we're all for it, really. One game that isn't going anywhere, and Ghost of Tsushima has got a director's cut, which has been announced this week, and Sony's revealed Ghost of Tsushima's director's cut, which include a new story set on Iki Island. After the unannounced title was classified by the that's how it's pronounced. You got like what is it? Icky.
When that was in the
Icky.
story, right?
Icky.
I double checked that. Icky Island. That's not right.
Icky. What? Well, how is it pronounced?
It reminds me when didn't George Lucas want to call one of the baddies Darth Icky or Darth Icky?
Oh, that would have been wonderful.
Anyways, sorry.
Anyway, probably incredibly beautiful Japanese island name, but I'll butcher it every single time. But either way, after the unannounced title was classified by the ESRB early this week, Sony confirmed on Thursday that Ghost of Tsushima's Director's Cut will be released for PlayStation 5 for $70 and PlayStation 4 for $60 on August the 20th. You'll be able to transfer your saved data between the PS4 and PS5 versions of Ghost of Tsushima. Basically, existing Ghost of Tsushima owners can upgrade to the Director's Cut on PS4 for $20, or they can upgrade to the Director's Cut on PS5 for $30. So basically, if you've got the PS4 version, you can upgrade to the Director's Cut on the PS5 for $30, or you can upgrade the PS4 to Director's Cut PS4 for $20. It's all a bit complicated, but it'll make sense eventually. Players who purchase Director's Cut for PS4 will also be able to upgrade to Director's Cut on PS5 at any time for $10, basically. It's a whole new island. I mean, all the details haven't been released yet, but essentially it's a bit... We don't know the extent of it or the size of it, but, the talk around it is always already in, like, will it be as big as, like, Lost Legacy or something like that, or is it going to be a little bit smaller? I actually, this morning, because I enjoyed Tsushima, I actually went and looked literally on Google Maps at the island of Iki, or whatever it's called, and it quite literally looks about a third of the size of the actual map of Tsushima, which is right near it geographically in the real actual world. So I wouldn't be surprised if we are going to see the size of another, little small section of that game again. But what did you guys make for this news in terms of the industry side of it? Because obviously we're seeing the Director's Cut is a new term, by the way, but I'm pretty certain that's just now the new term for deluxe edition or whatever that people are going to use. I mean, that's the way I saw it. I saw someone talking about it on Twitter, and I was like, this is just that new term. It's a fancier term, isn't it? I mean, because I'm not sure there's going to be any...
I imagine they're going to do a few of them. I mean, before PS5 came out, there was... I heard talk that there was a remaster of Tsushima, and also The Last of Us Part 2. So maybe this is the kind of the branding that they're sticking it under. I'm not quite sure, but the thing that grasps me is the convoluted pricing.
Yes,
like I still have to read this multiple times. So existing Ghost of Tsushima owners can upgrade to Director's Cut on PS4 for $20, or upgrade to Director's Cut on PS5 for $30. So that would be me. Players who purchase Director's Cut for PS4 will be able to upgrade to Director's Cut on PS5 for $10. And I'm sure also some of that is attached to a pre-order. I might be making that up, but that's
I think the pre-order means you can just get it straight away. So I think
they really. I mean, it's funny how this week,
because I've looked online and you can't find it.
Called an Xbox fanboy or a PlayStation fanboy. It's
that was really, by me.
It's tedious as hell. The console war bullshit that seems to have come back from the late 90s. But Sony have really bodged up PS5 in terms of backwards compatibility. They really have. Like on Xbox, this press release would just say, "Buy the game."
Yeah, it works.
And you've got it. Like, you do not have to pay any more.
It is quite. I know, like you said, that I hate the whole fanboy stuff, and like we both have Xboxes and PlayStation 5s, so it's not like we're committing to one and shunning the other. Like we want to see everything succeed, but Sony is making the mistakes that Xbox was making last generation. It's a cycle that keeps coming. Like when they got,
it's the hubris.
They did it with PS3, and then with PS4 they backtracked and were quite humble about it and said, okay, we've learned. And now with PS5 they're just doing it all over again.
Well, let us backtrack here. I mean, PS5 is still great. It's
fantastic.
Xbox One was legitimately a disaster, in its first couple of years. PS5's great, but the one thing they have cocked up is their backwards compatibility stuff.
Yeah,
because look, I mean, you forget about the pricing, right? Let's take the pricing out of it. This is confusing as hell. Like, you buy this game and it'll work on PS5. You're going to pay for a version, fine, but you guarantee as well. I guarantee you that like a lot of these cross-gen games or PS5 upgrades, you're going to have to go back to the PS4 one, manually upload your save, like get the PS4 out of the cupboard, plug it in, upload it, update the game to do that, and then go back and then download. It's just, they've properly tossed it up.
Well, you look at something like Doom Eternal, which got its next gen upgrade this week, and the FAQ on Doom Eternal's site basically says if you have the Xbox One version and you download the Xbox Series X, Series S version, it just with smart delivery, you just play it. Your save carries on, it updates your save, and you keep going. PS4, if you've got PS4 Doom Eternal, you can't carry your campaign over to PS5.
Not to mention the sheer amount of upgrade kind of patches that we've seen for next gen upgrades, whatever you want to call them, when they don't do full SKUs, they do patches for last gen games. Yeah, obviously the PS5 is clearly is restricted in that area because the Xbox Series X, Xbox Series S is always getting kind of better features from those patches, and the PS5 is. I mean, there are a few developers that have come out and claimed that is a restriction of the system itself. Yeah. So it's definitely a weak area of the console. It's a little bit frustrating.
I mean, the cynic in me would suggest that this Iki Island which is essentially DLC, let's face it, is being kind of bundled in as part of this to justify a $30 next gen upgrade, basically. Whereas Microsoft can say, well, smart delivery, it just upgrades and that's it, it's included. It would appear that, putting my cynic's hat on, that this island is being used as a kind of Trojan horse to kind of justify charging $30 to upgrade rather than doing it free on like you would have got on Xbox. But that's the most negative way of putting it, I would think.
For me, I don't mind personally paying for a healthy chunk of DLC if it's healthy and it's big and it's size. And
I suppose that's what it's meant to see.
Yeah, I mean, if it's going to be 4K and they're going to aim, according to the press release, it's 4K and they're going to aim for 60 FPS as well, which is pretty good. They're going to have that, and they've got loads of little features, like they're going to have the Japanese lip syncing and all that kind of stuff, and they're going to have obviously haptic feedback and all the usual PS5 nuts and bolts and stuff. And they're obviously going to. We don't know how long this is. I mean, if it's if we're talking 10 to 15 hours, that's all right. Once again, Lost Legacy was about similar to that, and I really enjoyed that. It was a little bit shorter, so but we don't know how long. It could be shorter.
I might be chatting nonsense, but if I was releasing a remaster that had 10 hours of extra gameplay, my bullet points wouldn't include Japanese lip sync. The rumble. It now rumbles on the controller. Those
maybe you're right.
Did scraping the barrel.
I mean, you would. I would imagine.
I might be wrong. I might be wrong.
I mean, that's
the problem. It's pure guesswork at this point. This is the problem.
It did say new stories, new side missions. It did say new enemies.
But if that
and all
content
this kind of
is
stuff,
significant, I don't see how they're not putting that up front, right?
I don't
just watched a trailer that's 90% old stuff, and all of the features listed on the announcement are like lip sync and some rumble. I mean,
if it was really significant, they could have done a Miles Morales with it and made it Ghost of Tsushima, Iki Island, and the PS5 version comes with a remaster director's cut of the PS4 game, and make the Iki Island stuff the front and center instead of. But again, this is all kind of guesswork at this point until we actually get our hands on it and see if it is.
I'm looking forward to playing it again,
or if it's just like a 2 hour thing. We don't know.
Yeah, they've got the Legends of it as well, which was obviously a bit of a free DLC, the multiplayer, which is really well critically received. I've not played it because I ain't got the pals to play it, if I'm being totally honest, but that was really well received and stuff like that. So, I mean, I'm not trying to bat here for Sony, but personally, the one thing for me is more paying extra for the PS5 version. Like, if they're paying for the DLC, fair enough, but it's then paying on top the extra $10 or 10 quid for the actual, just the resolution. I'm like, I know the work's gone into it, and I'm not trying to underplay the developers, but I'm like, I feel like you could have, it's a goodwill thing. You could have been like, right, I mean, I put like a lot of hours into that game, I completed it and all that kind of stuff, and I'm like, I kind of wish I wasn't paying for a graphical upgrade for 10 quid as well on top of all that. I feel like that should come part as like, okay, you're buying this DLC, which is
that's the strongest point. I think
that's the way I feel is, and like,
because that's the most direct comparison with smart delivery on Xbox, because that is literally going from PS4 to PS5, same content, and it would be free on Xbox and it's $10 on this. That's the most obvious comparison to make. So I think you're right. That's the big one.
because I don't mind paying for DLC if it's going to be hard. We don't know until we have. So I can't judge it until that point. But I do agree that in general they've messed up this whole thing, because I loved Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I literally can't play like Retrograde because without getting my save file, because being really kind to our next door neighbours, he had nothing to do and he had to isolate. So I left my PS4 at his door for him. So he's literally got my PS4 playing games, but he has to then log in to my thing to upload the save data. It's just so convoluted that I've not bothered playing for Retrograde, because I don't want to have to start a new file and do all that kind of stuff. And so they've definitely messed up this side of things, and it shouldn't be that complicated. It shouldn't be. It should be that it's all cloud. Your saves come down. I don't know why it's happening, but they've got it wrong. But I guess we are seeing this. It's a new generation. Maybe they'll line these things out eventually. I don't think they will, but we'll see.
Well, how these waves go. When PlayStation 6 comes out, that'll be a big selling point. Is that your save files will just transfer over, no bother, and everyone will love it. And then Sony will be on top again. So it's a cycle in this industry. So
it's mad. It should it's mad that that's not already a thing. It's absolute insanity in my personal opinion. But
they've just announced the quality of life improvements for Zelda Skyward Sword HD.
Oh, go on then. Go on. What are they?
They don't look amazing, to be honest.
Instant cut fast travel.
Yeah. This is the thing that everyone was moaning that the fast travel was locked behind the Amiibo purchase. So I was half expecting to see this. I'm scanning through the press release here, but it says optional help from Fee. She can be summoned to manually provide advice. Okay.
No thanks.
Fast forward the dialogue. Streamlined item information, explanation for collectible items. Only appeared the first time. That is a good improvement, because that was annoying.
Coins every time you open a chest, from what I remember.
Yeah.
Was that right? And it was like, you got a rupee. I was like, I know what bloody rupee. I played a Zelda game before. I know what a rupee is. Leave it out.
Skippable cutscenes, auto-save. Game progress will be saved automatically in addition to the existing manual save, and skippable tutorial dialogue. That all sounds pretty good.
That's fantastic. That's the one for me, the tutorial stuff. I always hate starting a new Zelda because you need to go through all that crap again. But that's a good one. I'm happy with that.
What about skipping repeated bosses? Oh, no, so they won't do that one, I guess. When's that out? A couple of weeks, isn't it? A couple of weeks today, I think.
Yeah, 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah. I really liked the HD remake of Wind Waker. I thought it was really, really, really good for what it was at the time. And obviously, we've seen games being...
Wind Waker, it was excellent.
But I thought they absolutely nailed it out of the park, and nailed it out of the park. Nailed it.
That'll come eventually. Surely Wind Waker and Twilight Princess will be here at some point. They can't
give us what we want.
They've chucked every other Wii U game on there. It's only a matter of time. Surely.
Is this a trap?
No. It's legit. Legitimately.
Yeah, Andy.
I'm not saying anything, mate.
Unrelated to anything Andy has said in the past. I just think in terms of when you look at what Nintendo's done in the past, like Star Fox Zero is the only other major one, and even then that might not.
I mean, we've talked about the Zeldas, mate. I mean,
I know.
You only have to see what they did with Pikmin and with Mario 3D World. They are currently doing with Metroid Prime Trilogy, which is another one that they've got sat there. Yeah, they'll drop them to fill some gaps. I mean, Zelda's been delayed, clearly. Yeah. Every game coming out this year virtually is developed by an outside studio. Yeah. They are sitting onto these ports to fill a gap somewhere.
I mean, I was made aware of Prime Trilogy HD like 3 or 4 years ago. So it seemed like it seemed clear that was going to be what they would release to get people ready for Metroid Prime 4. But now it looks like Metroid Prime 4 is so far away that Metroid Dread is the first thing to get people back into Metroid, and then they'll do Prime Trilogy HD. This is guesswork here, and then they'll do Metroid Prime 4. It seems it's still that.
I was speaking to Chris String on the phone last night. We should have recorded it. Actually, it would have been a decent podcast because we were going on for about an hour about.
Should I get him now? Is he around? I could
we were talking about how it's the post E3 lull, isn't it? At the moment, this week and last week's been a bit slow, but it's gearing up a bit. Like there's stuff EA are doing stuff, and Gamescom's it's just around the corner. You're going to have, there's a lot of releases coming up as well, like, Zelda this month, and obviously Tsushima, which is now announced, is not far out at all.
Yeah.
But we were talking about Switch Pro, and I was saying I would not be surprised if they announced that like next week.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have it. That is complete speculation before it's spun off, but it's. if it doesn't get announced this month, then I'll start thinking it's not coming out this year. Yeah. But the Bloomberg, the author of that Bloomberg story, he has got good sources. I know that for a fact. I mean, it exists, right? I mean, it's like I said earlier that reporting on timing is a bit of a mug's game at the moment because everything's getting moved around.
Yeah.
But Nintendo have form for announcing their consoles in July after E3. I mean, E3's focuses on the games, and then they kind of bring this other stuff. I mean, Switch Lite was announced in July.
Mm-hmm.
They just dropped a random press release and a video. You know, I seem to remember I was out of the office as well.
Yeah.
And saw it on my phone. So it is the sort of thing they would do. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Sorry, I digressed massively there. We're talking about Metroid. And
we weren't talking about Metroid. We're talking about
Chrissy's retort was, well, what are people going to buy a 4K Switch for this year? And I said, Metroid. Just like I've been saying on this podcast for months and months and months, if they launch a new Switch, they will launch it with an ultra-core game for the most engaged core. And you do not get more ultra-core than a 2D Metroid game. That might not seem like the most amazing game to show off a bloody 4K console, 4K, but you're guaranteed that'll run 4K 60. They can upgrade all of their past games, rebrand them. Mario
That's
Kart
the thing. We're getting to the point now
Odyssey 4K.
where a lot of recent releases on Switch could really benefit from a boost.
People will buy that. They will buy that.
Embargoed game I'm playing just now runs quite ropey on the Switch and could do with a big performance upgrade. So we're getting to the point now where, because it's a number of years on, anyone who's trying to port games like multi-format games onto the Switch is struggling. You only look at the Doom games and stuff like that. Anyone who wants to bring games to the Switch are now kind of a number of years on facing like proper serious issues with that, because it's really starting to show its age now. And as a handheld, it's still fantastic, but as a console, it's getting quite creaky now. And
mine feels creaky. Now. Mine does. Every time I pick it up now, it feels, to be honest, even physically, it just feels a little bit worn down. I can hear it whirring more. The screen's a little bit more. It just feels slower. It does. It genuinely does. I'm not sure if it is. I'm not sure if it's subconscious or not, but it feels old now in my hands. It really does. And that's just a personal thing. I'm not sure if you guys feel the same.
I didn't think the original Switch felt premium at launch. I thought it felt cheap at launch. It's like all the money went into the Joy-Cons, which are fantastic, a fantastic piece of technology. But the actual tablet itself is like an off-the-shelf, like Chinese knockoff, right?
Well, that's what it reminds me of something I got from my mum for Christmas a few years back. It doesn't feels like a tablet I got from my mum for you.
It looks like it was off the shelf.
I still think the Wii U gamepad is the cheapest feeling thing Nintendo's ever made.
It's a flimsy piece of plastic.
It feels so light, and it's just like this doesn't feel like, it doesn't feel like you could do what people used to do with the N64 on the early days of YouTube, where remember a guy once kind of tied it to the back of a truck in America and drove it around the street, the N64, and it still worked. Like after, like I would have thought, like just tying the rope around the Wii U gamepad would shatter it into 10,000 pieces.
Well, I haven't got a Joy-Con that works anymore. Anyway, they're all drifting, every single one of them, which is. It's a true story. I spent 10 hours in A&E on last Friday, because I wasn't feeling well at all, and I had chest pains, all that kind of stuff. Quite scary, but I'm all right. I had blood test. But I brought my Switch because I thought I got Nick to drop Switch off of me. And I was just trying to play a game on the Switch in the A&E. I was more frustrated by the Switch's Joy-Cons drifting. There was the bloody waiting times at the NHS. It was driving me mad. I was like, I just want to play a game without the control drifting to the left. And
I've never had it. I swear I've never had it.
I've got Joy-Cons. I've got all Joy-Cons.
I had the issues at launch. Remember at launch, some of the left Joy-Con didn't connect very well and kept disconnecting. I had that and bought a new Joy-Con, but I've never had drift. I think I'm just one of the minority.
Drift sucks, mate.
I'm definitely the minority.
It really does suck. What doesn't suck is the next story. Rockstar co-founder Dan Houser has founded a new studio. He's founded a new studio following his departure from the Grand Theft Auto maker last year. As spotted by users on GTA forums and French publication Rockstar Mag, last week Houser registered a new UK company called Absurd Ventures in Games, which is officially incorporated on June the 23rd. According to its listing on Companies House, which is the UK's registrar of companies, Absurd Ventures in Games, which is a catchy title. Nature Business is terrible. It's really terrible, mate. I'm sorry, Hauser. Just sort your naming out. I mean, you don't need any tips from me.
From the co-founder of a studio that's like almost borderline a fashion brand. You know, how much investment they put into the branding of Rockstar. You know, they used to, you know, going back like 15 years ago, they used to just like, you couldn't move in any kind of editorial office across the land for the amount of Rockstar stuff that would be everywhere. You know,
what you're trying to tell me? You're not wearing an Absurd Ventures in Games t-shirt anytime soon.
I did. Funnily enough, though, I did have a Midnight Club Los Angeles shirt on yesterday when I needed just a throwaway like game t-shirt.
That's still better than Absurd Ventures in Games, which sounds like a piece of freeware. Like
I think I've got a Rockstar table tennis t-shirt somewhere. Which
I know. I've probably got a Warriors one somewhere as well.
Worth upwards of £5 on eBay, I would imagine.
I don't know. They're probably quite sought after.
Well,
did we interrupt your story?
Sorry.
Yeah, the business is your story, actually, I think it was. No, it's Chris's story. It was listed as a ready-made interactive leisure and entertainment software development, suggesting the company could be another game studio. However, on February 17, 2021, Hauser registered a separate company in the US called Absurd Ventures LLC, as well as Absurd Ventures in Games LLC on the same day, suggesting the operation may not be limited to video games industry. There's loads of stuff. I'll put a link in the description, all that kind of stuff. But obviously he left. Where was it? 2020, February 2020. Obviously he's made his money from Rockstar, put it that way, and he's obviously been absolutely huge to the success. What do you make of this, Andy? Like, are you expecting?
I'm really glad to see him back. I really am. I mean, the guy's a legend in the games industry.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I just hope that that he kind of gets the team together and gets to kind of make some stuff, because inevitably, when you get to the scale of Rockstar, I mean, GTA 5 is the biggest entertainment products probably of all time now.
Yeah.
You haven't exactly got room to maneuver and go and do a manhunt, for a year, right? So, yeah, I hope it results in some of those Rockstar games that we missed, the smaller ones, your table tennises, your bullies, etc. However, it's worth noting they're splintered off a bit, right? I mean, Leslie Benzies, who was a producer of GTA for years and years, who was the head of Rockstar North. He kind of also left a couple of years ago, and he's founded his own studio called Build a Rocket Boy, which is marginally better title.
That's an Elbow reference, isn't it?
Not a clue.
It's a band Elbow. They've got a song called Build a Rocket Boy.
Elbow, yeah.
Yeah. The Build a Rocket Boy. It's a good song.
Still a bit of a shit name.
It's a terrible name.
He's received $150 million. No, he hasn't. I'm reading this story completely wrong. But he definitely received many, many $1 million of investment from kind of VC money. So, and they've got a big team as well.
Is it everywhere, isn't it? The game is called.
Yeah, the game's called Everywhere. We don't know anything about it other than it's open world. So that's quite promising, but they're all splintered off, right? I mean, there was a lawsuit about royalties, and it sounds like he fell out with the two houses big time over that, about these alleged, unpaid royalties, and it all sounds like it's gone a bit sour, to be honest. Yeah. So if we get to see some more great, British indie games, the word indie is disgusting now. Independent games, then fantastic, brilliant. But this kind of whiffs of a bigger story, doesn't it? Because if you look at, Chris was digging into this morning. There's a American LLC that he's established, which seems to be the real parent company of the British one. And because he was based in New York, right? I mean, he was America side for God knows how long.
So they set up this Absurd Ventures in Delaware or somewhere, and then they've got Absurd Ventures in Games, and now they've got Absurd Ventures in Games UK. So the fact that right off the bat he's setting up a base in America and a base in the UK suggests this isn't just like three guys making a couple of indie games. There's it feels like, again, this is speculation, but it feels like there's something big. This is the foundations of something that he's planning to be fairly big. And like we were saying earlier, the fact that there's a separate company just called Absurd Ventures, you wonder if there'll be spin-off ones, Absurd Ventures and whatever.
And then again, the word venture in the title as well does make me wonder whether it is actually a game developer and not some sort of
like a funding type thing.
Venture.
Yeah.
So I mean, hopefully it's actually a game developer, right? I mean, this guy's getting whatever investment he wants.
Yeah, of course.
The guy who made bloody GTA.
He's Hauser.
Yeah,
he's getting whatever investment money he wants to do whatever he wants.
Part of me wants people to start just calling them AVG, but then you'll have VGC covering AVG, and it's just going to be really upsetting. I think
for everyone involved.
For everyone.
I'm sure they'll be devastated over AVG. No, to be honest, all I want is just more games from that group of people that aren't just online versions of the same games that make billions of pounds, because I understand why they do it. But I don't want it, man. I don't want to have to wait till 2026, whatever it's going to be, until GTA 6 allegedly or something. I don't know. It's going to be an awful long time. But hopefully Hauser will jump in, get this game out of the way, or maybe everywhere, whatever that's going to be.
GTA 5 has made too much money for GTA 6 to ever really be a true follow-up anymore. I just think it's made it impossible. GTA 6 just needs to be a GTA Online expansion at this point. It's just GTA 5 is the biggest game of all time.
Damn you kids playing it.
I cannot see any way that they go, oh, here's the new GTA that's completely separate and reboots everything and has new, totally new technology and blah blah. It's going to be something that plugs into GTA Online.
Anything before that for Rockstar? Because obviously Red Dead.
No, not really.
They just the
pandemic's here. I mean, these are already games that. I mean, look, how many games they've released last generation? Is it just one? Like a full game, Red Dead 2. I'm pretty sure that's the only game they released last year. Yeah,
because it was PS3, wasn't it? GTA.
Off the top of my head, GTA 5 came out 2013.
Yeah, that's right, I think.
Off the top of my head. So they've released basically one game in 10 years.
That's same year as Dead Space. We talked about
that's without a pandemic. That's without a pandemic. So, they're going to release GTA at some point in the next decade.
GTA's dead. Long live GTA. We may as well be. I mean, some crazy thing. I'll probably, who knows how long will be with GTA 6. Who knows? It won't. I don't think it'll come out inside the next 5 years. That's my genuine cynical thing. I don't think it will do. I think they won't.
I would love modern remakes of the 3 Vice City and San Andreas.
That will do. Like, they've already made the Red Dead 1 map in Red Dead 2.
It's completely restricted them. It's completely restricted them. They're too corporate and it's too big. And there's too much money involved and too many people in suits. I don't think they'd even do that because they'd be like, it's muddying the brand of our monster. Yeah. We can't put GTA on anything else.
So GTA is dead then, basically. Is that what you're saying?
Well, it's not that GTA is the monster. GTA is GTA Online. Go play it with 100 million other
people. But GTA,
no,
single player GTA is dead, is what you're saying.
I just don't think you're going to see what we've seen in the past from GTA now. I don't see how that is able to happen.
I'd be surprised if you get a Red Dead 3 as well. Genuinely, maybe 15 years from now, or something like that. Honestly, I would not be surprised if Molten Grey at that point.
Maybe more likely though, because it doesn't seem like Red Dead Online's taken off quite as well as GTA did. So maybe Red Dead become. No.
The real tragedy is we're not going to see a sequel to the real best Rockstar game, LA Noire.
I thought you were going to say Bully. Yeah, I didn't mind LA Noire so much. Although
LA Noire was a great game.
They massively overdid the facial animation, they overhyped that. I thought that was a bit.
I just noticed that meme.
It was a brilliant meme.
I
did like.
My brother had it actually. He loved it. My brother loved it. I never played it.
Just such a nice change of pace from just the constant murder.
From life.
Yeah.
In general, do you reckon, speculating here, do you think this is why, Benzies and Hauser have left because they just don't want to be obviously you have no idea, but pure speculation, because they want to make games, not an online service. Do you think there's anything in that? It could be that they actually think, well, I don't want to do that. I actually want to be,
This is the burnout that comes to anyone of a certain age in game development, because they take, as we've just established, they take so long. When you're working on a game now and you're in your 40s, you're thinking, I've probably got 2 more games in me, right? Is this what I want to spend the rest of my life working on, this one project? Yeah. Or do I want to go and do, different, smaller stuff and, try different things? Especially from their perspective where, they've sold their company. They're rich beyond their wildest dreams.
Yeah, he's a billionaire probably? I don't know. At least a multi-billionaire.
Definitely. You know, they're
billionaire.
they're under contract to stay with them for X years. I mean, usually people in that position are just counting the days, right?
Days, yeah.
And then they're off to do their gardening with £50 notes.
Just literally glued together, made shears out of £50 notes. Well, I hope Hauser and Vengeance for the games industry. Yeah, I hope Absurd Adventures in Games, whatever it's called, Absurd Adventures in Games is actually, I don't know, maybe LA Noire will come back in some shape or form or whatever. It won't be. It'll be something else, but who knows. Guys, we've reached the end of this episode of VGC Off The Record. Thanks very much for watching. Hope you've all enjoyed it, and let us know down in the comments on our YouTube video your thoughts on all these stories. What are you expecting from Rockstar going forward? Be honest down in the comments, and don't forget as well to give us a like or whatever, or a rating over on all the major podcast providers. For now, though, Chris, Andy, hope you have a wonderful weekend.
You too, mate.
Thank you very much. And we'll see you all next week for another episode of VGC Off The Record. And go as well, watch or listen to last week's episode where we went through the 25 top N64 games of all time. It's a good one, I promise you. In a bit. See you later, guys.